Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel, Cynicalex. And today I want to talk about the new updated tier list for Marvel Future Fight for update 6.4. So what I've added in this update that I want to go through today and talk about with you is a new tier called mid-utility, a new column of characters to sort of spread things out a little bit more and make a little bit more of a delineation between characters. I also added another icon. We added another icon that's called Needs Awakening to identify characters that are not good without their awakening, but then become monstrous with their awakening, and then characters that can sort of be used either way, specifically for characters who have the awakening transcend potential possibility. And then we also added all the new characters, of course, Morbius, Scarlet Spider, and then we updated all of the characters that got either an awakening or a uniform or a tier 3. So, you know, you've got your Scarlet Spiders and your Ghost Riders and your Blades. Well, not Blade. And your Dormammu and stuff like that. Blade, for now, obviously Blade has not been released yet. So Blade, for now, is over here in pending. I just don't have anywhere to put him because we don't know how good his uniform is going to be. I did not want to delay this tier list until then. So I'll just update it and not make a video on that once Blade gets his uniform and once he falls somewhere in the realm of Godlight to mid-utility. He's probably not going to be better than Godlight, and he's probably not going to be, hopefully, not worse than mid-utility. So, before we get into all of this information, standard disclaimer, this is just my opinion, guys. You can build your characters the way that you want, and you can value characters the way that you want. I try to give you a rough estimate of where characters' values lie so that you can make good decisions to build your roster out, but ultimately, with a game that has over 220 characters, you know, you're bound to disagree with me on some things, and that's fine. And you can certainly put characters in different categories or value certain characters over other characters in a different way. So, let's get into it. Mid-utility characters are basically high-utility characters with less utility. I was basically looking at the tier list, and it was getting very bloated in the middle, especially between solid unit and high-utility. And I was like, well, some of these characters in high-utility are not really high-utility units. Like, you know, the value of someone like Nick Fury or the value of someone like Spider-Man 2099 for World Boss, Shadowland, Alliance Conquest, PvP is quite different than the value of Sunbird, which is basically exclusively for story mode, fragment farming, and PvP. That's basically it. And it's not even PvP timeline, it's just PvP conquest. So I wanted to separate these characters and sort of differentiate between the ones that have much higher utility, which means more game modes where they're used, versus the ones that don't have as much utility and they're not used in as many game modes. Keep in mind that I don't count a leadership or a passive support as being multiple game modes, even though you can use them in multiple game modes. I just count that as one thing. So for example, Ebony Maw, you can use his leadership in, you know, ABX, World Boss, lots of places, but I don't count all of those to his value because then he would be high utility or godlight. Like, it just wouldn't make any sense. So yeah, so that's basically what mid utility tier is. To be honest, I'm still tinkering in my head with the possibility of completely revamping this tier list as far as how characters are being evaluated. I do think that there's still a bit too high of an emphasis on things like World Boss. So I think that characters like, for example, Psylocke, I actually moved her. She becomes the poster child for this. Please don't hate me, Psylocke fans, but you're going to hate me anyways. I moved her from Godlight to high utility because when I'm thinking about it, she really doesn't have any utility in the game besides World Boss. I mean, you can get away with using her in some PvP scenarios. She's not bad for PvP, to be honest. She's pretty good, and maybe some conquest teams have found a way to use her with max dodge and like a CTP of authority or whatever. But really, for the majority of players, you get her as part of the deluxe pack and you slap a mind damage obelisk on her and you run her through Ebony, and that's cool. But there's so many characters that can do that. So her utility in the game is not very high. She doesn't do squad battles. She doesn't do ABX. She's not a support. She doesn't enable one-shot mechanics, you know, all this stuff. I also took away her godly striker icon because nobody uses her as a striker anymore. So yeah, she's not the only one, but she just sort of triggered that thought in my mind. But anywho, I also, in case you're wondering, I also moved some of the characters from support only to needs rework because a lot of, thankfully, big round of applause to Marvel Future Fight Netmarble, they reworked a lot of characters that were in the needs rework category, like Blade, Ghost Rider, Moon Knight, all in this last update. So, and before that we had, you know, Black Bolt, Medusa and stuff like that. Maybe not Medusa, but we had a lot of characters in this category as well, like Kamala Khan and stuff like that. So yeah, as more characters get reworked and taken out of this category, I will put other characters in to sort of highlight the bottom of the barrel. So the Awakening icon, we'll get to the new characters soon, don't worry. The Awakening icon, the Needs Awakening icon, is essentially the character is not good without their Awakening skill. So even though you buy Dr. Octopus's uniform, which is great, Superior Octopus, he really does not get enough damage to be functional for squad battle, ABX, world boss one-shots. That's his value, right? His value is doing those three things. You don't get that value until you awaken him. Whereas someone like Mystique, a really good example between Dr. Octopus and Mystique, is that the fact that Mystique is still really good without her awakening. Does she need her awakening to then go to the next level? You know, be really potent and really strong for Danger Room Extreme, get really high scores in ABX? Sure. But even without her awakening skill, she can still do World Boss. She's still a good support for PvP. Like, she still has value, right? Almost all of Dr. Octopus's value depends on his awakening skill. Same thing with Red Skull. Like, he's okay, but he really needs that awakening skill to pose that extra threat in PvP. Same thing with Sunbird. You know, they need that cheesy skill to do that sort of revive cheese. Most characters that got their awakening need it. I didn't put it on Morbius because I don't have enough information on him yet. That's also why Morbius, we can start talking about the new characters. That's also why Morbius is in mid-utility for me. I think he's a little bit better than mid-utility. He's somewhere between here, but right now he's just a world boss / Shadowland character with above average crowd control, you know, mind control, paralysis for a combat type. Does he need his awakening? He'll need his awakening to do much higher level content, right? Which may require him to have the icon and be moved over here with Red She-Hulk and Wolverine and stuff. But until I see that content, or until I do it myself, I can't really comment on that. On the other hand, Scarlet Spider is amazing. Wow. So Morbius kind of I really think that for his worth, he should have been put in the Future Pass. So I think Netmarble dropped the ball on that one. I think if he wasn't going to be in the Future Pass, they should have made him a little bit stronger. But okay. Scarlet Spider, on the other hand, man, really good. So glad that he's free. He gives us a new speed character to do, you know, tons of fun things with. Solid addition to the game. He doesn't play like a lot of other speed types. He plays like other types of characters, and just, you know, all this skill canceling and stuff is just not really the usual foray for speed types, right? Speed types are not out here one-shotting left and right. So, you know, you really just have Mystique and Dr. Octopus and maybe not Black Widow, sorry, Deadpool. But yeah, so I'm really happy with Scarlet Spider. I think he was an awesome addition to the game, and they need to build more characters. Not necessarily like him, because I feel like they've built a lot of fragile characters and uniforms this month. But in a way, you know, they just need to make them a little bit tankier, in my opinion. But I do like the way that he plays otherwise, and I do like the way that you can sort of either combo all of his skills and get a huge burst of damage, or you can take it slow if you're playing different content and get a different effect. Moving on to the characters that got uniforms and massive upgrades, Moon Knight is by far the best, and I'm putting him here in Godlight for now, along with Dormammu. But him and Dormammu very well may be optimal gods, because Moon Knight doesn't even need his awakening to be amazing to start one-shotting stage 50, 60 Proxima, stage 50 Thanos. He's really good without even using the awakening skill. When he uses the awakening skill, when you get it and you transcend his potential, he becomes an absolute monster. All 3 weeks of ABX, completely eclipsed Namor, world boss. You know, he'll be good for you in squad battle if you're in a lower category than Vibranium, because you can actually use combat heroes. He's just a really good character. He has PvP value, which is bonkers. So yeah, they did an excellent job. It almost feels like not what Morbius should have been, but when a uniform outclasses a new character, it's a bit funny. I'm not saying that it shouldn't happen. I'm really glad that Moon Knight is better than Morbius, because Moon Knight's, you know, a more popular character, and he's been in the game for a long time. Morbius hasn't struggled for 4 years in Marvel Future Fight, but It sucks that you have to then buy Morbius to upgrade Moon Knight to his full potential. It's great that he's good without Morbius. He can still definitely work on your roster without Morbius. He's still definitely worth either Godlight or high utility without his awakening. But yeah, I feel some type of way about that. And then Dormammu, man, they did a really good job with Dormammu. PvP, PvE, he's crazy good. Iframe ignore, revive. Really long iframe on 5. He's got both elemental and all defense down, so he's got the resistances and the defense taken care of. Self buffs, really cool animations. He's just top to bottom an awesome character. Even if you don't tier 3 him, he is good in a similar way that Silver Surfer with his uniform and Odin were good at tier 2 before they went to tier 3. He's that good. Now again, I want to sort of give him some time to grow on me and sort of expose more of his strengths and weaknesses, so that's why I'm not jumping automatically to the optimal gods. I don't want to overhype a character and oversell them, and then, you know, if we make a mistake or we're not quite right about our assessment later on down the road, people don't make the mistake of investing too heavily. So that's why I'm gonna, from now on, I'm only gonna put characters in either this category or lower from the get-go when they first come out or when they first get a uniform, just because, you know, it's better to err on the side of caution. Ghost Rider, on the other hand, where did I put Ghost Rider? Ghost Rider's over here. Now, again, I'm sort of undervaluing him a little bit. I think some people are going to be upset that he's only in high utility. He does have utility in the game for sure. Squad battle. He's got world boss potential and stuff like that. He's got some PvP potential, so he seems like he can be used in a lot of game modes, but he does die easily. There's just no way to get around it. He does die easily, and it's annoying, and it does hurt his value a lot. He's good. He's got very high damage. He can be fun to play. He's got cool animations. He's got good sound effects, but he's very fragile. You need a lot of practice learning the ins and outs of his skills, learning the length of the skill animations, when to cancel, when to do an emergency iframe on 1 or 3, when you can use 4, when you have an opening to use his 4th skill, because there's a huge gap at the beginning where you just can't do anything. If you could instant cancel 5 into 4 to get that invincibility and pass it over, right? And if 5 had a lower cooldown to match 4's cooldown, then he would be a completely different character. That one change, or those 2 changes, would make him a completely different character. But the problem is, you can't instant cancel 5 if you want the effects, like the fire resistance down and the buffs. You can't cancel 5. And, you have to wait after using 5 and 4, because 5 is on a 20-second cooldown. So 10 seconds is crazy. So yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed with Ghost Rider. On the one hand, I feel like he could have been a little bit better. He's probably better than Thor, to be honest. Thor is really only used for story mode farming at this point. But yeah, the value of some of these other characters, in addition to what they can do for you in the game, like, sure, Ghost Rider is going to get you more points than Dr. Voodoo in squad battle, but Dr. Voodoo can still give you 1,000,000 in squad battle. And then on top of the fact that he's got the leadership abilities, right? Whereas Ghost Rider, yeah. So I might move him up. I'm not saying he's going to stay there forever, but I'm a little bit disappointed with his survivability. And did we need another Ebony one-shot? Not really. We didn't really need that. Elsa, really quickly, over here in solid unit. Yeah, she's just a one-trick character. She has her awakening, and that's it. She didn't get a rework, so don't expect her to be much better than like Domino or X-23. She literally has 0 damage except for her awakening skill, and you have to invest in all that, invest in Morbius just to get it. So I almost want to put her lower, but that's really where she deserves to be in the solid unit ranking. And then finally, we did talk about Psylocke, but I didn't talk about some other mutants that I moved around. So Cyclops, I moved him to the top of high utility. He's got the leadership for Danger Room Extreme. He still has value in ABX as a leadership and as a support and stuff like that, and switching to him if you're going to do the silencing thing with Mysterio and Magneto. And he's also for story mode extreme farming this month, so he gets a little bit of a bump in value temporarily. So for those of you that have Cyclops tier 3, you get a little bit more value this month, in addition to whatever you're using him in Shadowland. I'm not telling you to tier 3 Cyclops. I'm just saying if you have him, he's got a little bit more value. And then Storm. So Storm I hadn't moved, even though she got her uniform and her tier 3 a while back. So I moved her to the bottom of God Light. But Storm, in the same way of that Psylocke sort of represents just a world boss character, Storm kind of represents that. She's better. She has more value than Psylocke because of Danger Room Extreme. But yeah, so I put her down here with Captain America and Cable. I think that's an awesome place to put her. She's still in a very rare category of characters. Storm's very good. She still dies very easily. But I'm not sure if, you know, Godlight really represents what is basically just a, you know, world boss GBR and DRX character. So yeah, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of the new tier list, and I will probably start tinkering in the background with something completely brand new that might, you know, shift and really shake up the entire ranking of these characters. But yeah. I'll think about it through, and I'll talk about it to some people before I get to actually making any sweeping changes. Yeah, hit me up in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.